back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. First, we'll be covering that baseball is back. The first spring training game is happening today. It is on right now, actually, so we'll get to that shortly. We'll be talking about some updates live as well, so that should be exciting. We'll be talking about Mets ace Kodai Senga to the injured list and what that means for the team. Mitch Keller from the Pirates getting an extension. And some news around the league, including some free agent signings that happened today that are definitely notable. So, before we get to that, I would like to ask you to please like and follow the show. We get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read and is seen by me, please use the link you see on the screen, streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network /tip. It really does help, and it really does mean a lot. So now, after that, we'll get to our first segment here, which is, as you can see, that baseball is back. What else was I going to start with, huh? For the longest offseason I can imagine, that I can remember, finally baseball is back. Finally, the greatest sport in America is back on TV, and we're finally playing games again, so I'm really excited. So Padres-Dodgers is happening right now as we speak. Just a little bit of live updates on that, actually. So it is the top of the first, and it is 6-0 Dodgers. It's going to be a fun season for Dodgers fans. Wow, 6-0 already. So, and you may think, okay, well, Padres probably had some bum pitcher in who's just a non-prospect they wanted to see. Nope, they had Joe Musgrove in. So it's going to be a fun season for Dodgers fans. Let's just put it that way. Teoscar Hernandez, the new Dodgers addition, hit a ground rule double to clear the bases and get them on the board. 3-0 originally. 2-0, sorry. Chris Owings hit a ground rule double as well. That made it 4-0. And Andy Pages just hit a RBI single. That scored 2, and it's now 6-0 with a man on first and 1 out with the 9-batter up. So that's a good start for the the Dodgers, I'd say. Not a good one for the Padres. So I think it's going to be a reflection of what goes on this season after what the Dodgers added. And remember, they don't have Freddie Freeman or Ohtani in the lineup today. So, it's going to be a fun season for Dodgers fans. Other than that, though, I just want to go over some things to watch. I was expecting the game to be much later at this point, but thankfully for me, it's only in the top of the first, so we can still talk about things to watch and things to look for. So first, we'll start off with the Padres, and the first thing for me is Xander Bogaerts and Ha-Seong Kim. As you know, they swapped positions this offseason. As new manager Mike Shildt announced. So Bogaerts will be playing second, Kim will be playing short. Personally, for me, I think that is the right decision. I think it just makes too much sense. Bogaerts is not a great defender, and Kim is, and I think swapping those makes a ton of sense just for value sakes. Sorry to interrupt this, but Kevin Paldo just homered, and now it's 8-0 Dodgers. So, wow. Jeez. All right. Anyways. Jeez, the Dodgers, man. I think Xander and Ha-Seong Kim in their new positions, so that's something to watch out for. I think, just to see how the chemistry works. They obviously have chemistry. They played together last year with a double play tandem, but they're going to be on different sides. So I think you have to, get it adjusted with, who's going to field what, where you're going to play in the infield, how you're going to get the chemistry down in different positions. So I think it's something to watch here just if you're a Padres fan, you want to see how this works. Again, I think it's the correct decision, but, I think it's still a big challenge, especially for Xander, who is a shortstop his whole career, was signed to be a shortstop with the Padres last offseason, an 11-year deal. Now in the second year of the deal is a second baseman, so not ideal. But, I think that's something to watch a little bit, just how they perform, what the chemistry looks like, and, do they feel comfortable right away, or is it going to take some time for both of them? I think Kim will have a much easier transition as he was a shortstop overseas and a little bit at the start with the Padres, even though Tatis was there. He has more experience there. Xander has some experience at second base, I believe, but not much. So I think it's going to be more of a challenge for him. And I also think it's kind of letting your ego a little bit as a player. When you're the shortstop, everything is to you. You're the captain of the infield. You make all the decisions. When you're second base, you're kind of the second guy. You're after the shortstop because the shortstop runs everything. So I think there's something to say about that a little bit. So, I think it's something to watch here if you're a Padres fan, if you're a baseball fan, just see how this works. It's kind of a do-or-die season for the Padres and for this core, and we'll see what happens with that. So, yeah. Next, for the Padres, I'm going to be watching Jackson Merrill. Jackson Merrill, I talked about him last episode as well as a guy for an extension candidate for the National League. Jackson Merrill is one of the top prospects in baseball. He is a shortstop for the Padres. He's really, really good. He has a chance to make the opening day roster, and he is in the starting lineup today for the Padres, playing left field. I think he could see a lot of time at left field this year with Kim at short and Bogart's second, of course, as I stated. So, because he is more of a middle infield guy, but he has the flexibility to play in the outfield. And I think with your shortstop and second base position set, you're going to have to play him a lot more in the outfield. Next year, that's probably going to be different because Ha-Seong Kim is going to be a free agent, and I would assume if you can't sign him, you just have Jackson Merrill plug and play at short. But yeah, I think Merrill playing left field right now makes sense. They don't have many outfielders. They have Tatis, and they have Jerks and Profar and Jose Azocar, and that's kind of it. So they need more depth there, and if Merrill can prove to be a Major League bat and Major League ready in the outfield as well, I think it will be a big positive for the Padres. So I'm looking to see how Jackson Merrill plays and how he adjusts to playing left field as well. So, that's something to watch. Always want to watch. Spring training is mainly for watching young players and prospects like that. So I think watching a guy like Jackson Merrill play and see what happens. This is what spring training is about. It's what it's for. So I'm really interested to see what happens. The Padres finally got out of the first inning, so that's exciting if you're a Padres fan. So maybe they can mount a 8-run comeback. It's only the first inning, so you never know. The next thing I have on my list is for the Dodgers, and I kind of talked about it already, not planning on it, but I did. It was Teoscar Hernandez and his adjustment to his new team. Obviously, it started out pretty well, as in his first at-bat with the Dodgers in spring training. He had a ground rule double to clear the bases. So I think it's his Dodger tenure starting pretty well. But I do think it's something to watch. He is going to be playing the outfield, of course, with Ohtani as the DH. So you'll see how his defense is there, playing everyday outfield. He was kind of a DH/outfield guy with the Mariners, but mainly played DH. Also with the Blue Jays as well, where he was before this year's. So, I think it's just interesting to see what happens with Teoscar. What will his adjustment look like? How will he fit in the middle of that order? With guys like Mookie, like Freddie, like Ohtani, like Will Smith, Gavin Lux, Max Muncy. Just this Dodgers lineup is so stacked, and adding Teoscar Hernandez to it should just be unfair. But they did, so nothing we can do about it. So I think it's just you're gonna watch how Teoscar Hernandez is gonna play, and how he adjusts to being a Dodger and adjusting to his new team, new fan base, new city. All that is for a new player. So I think it's something to watch for the first game. Excuse me, sorry. Next, we have, again for the Dodgers, Gavin Stone. So Gavin Stone is the starting pitcher for the Dodgers today. He is one of their top prospects, I guess, in a word. He's kind of an older prospect, but he still is a prospect technically. So I still think you have to count him in there. So he's starting today. We're going to see what he's going to do, see how he performs, see what his stuff's looking like. I think he's going to be a big part of the Dodgers' depth and what's going to go on with that. So I think that's something to look out for, just to see how he does pitch, how he does go about it in spring training, see if he can make the roster out of opening day. I assume he will, probably as a bullpen guy, but the Dodgers have a lot of question marks in that rotation right now that I don't think want to talk about. I mean, you have Yamamoto, who of course I think is going to be very, very good. I've talked about him multiple times, but it is his first season in the MLB, coming over from a completely different league. So I think there are going to be some growing pains at the start, possibly. And, you look at that. You look at Walker Buehler, who's coming off a year of no pitching at all because of Tommy John. Didn't pitch in the big leagues. You have James Paxton, who failed his physical and had to get a rework deal with the Dodgers, so there might be some injury risks that flare up there. You have Bobby Miller. You have Emmett Sheehan, who are both good players, good young players that I believe in. But at the same time, they are young players. They are rookies. So you have to see, you always going to be question marks there, especially with young players, with rookies, and how they're going to perform. So I think that's something to watch. And if, there are a question mark or two, you have guys like Gavin Stone who are going to step up, excuse me, play some big innings for you, pitch some big innings, pitch in high leverage situations. So I think that's something to watch here, just how Gavin Stone does perform, not only in this game, but spring training, and I think the whole spring training sphere and whole spring training experience as well. And I think this game, to start off, is a nice one. His first batter is Fernando Tatis, so that should be a nice wake-up call that offseason's over and you're playing the big boys now. You're playing the real guys. So, it's something to watch here. He just struck him out. So there you go. Nice start for Gavin Stone. Nice start for Dodgers fans who have been wanting him to succeed. So we're going to talk about the season outlooks for both these teams. So first we have the Padres. I think the Padres are going to be okay. That's kind of it. They struggled a lot last year, but there was some unluckiness. They were some absurd number with I think they were the worst team in MLB history with runners in scoring position. And you could just say they're not clutch, which I guess I wouldn't necessarily argue. I do, unlike a lot of people who are kind of analytical nerds or stat people like that. I would say I'm part of that. I do love analytics. I do love diving deeper, but I do believe clutch is a real thing. I believe going under pressure, how you play. I believe that's a true. That is something you look for, and that is something that a lot of people have, and some people don't. And Padres maybe just didn't have it. But I also think you have to look at how just ridiculously horrible those numbers were last year. That some of it was bad luck. But I also think it evens out when you trade your best hitter in Juan Soto. So I think they're going to be about the same as last year. I still think they need to add an outfielder, need to add a pitcher. I thought a guy like Hyunjin Ryu would have been a really good potential addition to San Diego. Not only because he is really good, he's a veteran who can help you get good innings, but he is from Korea, and the Padres have a good pipeline with Korea. They have 2 Korean players on their roster, of course, Ha-Sung Kim, one of them being the big star. But obviously, Ryu went back to Korea, so I don't think that's going to happen. After getting an 8-year contract in Korea, by the way, that's a long time for an older pitcher. I understand it's Korea, but still a long time. So, I still think they need to add a pitcher. Maybe a guy like Michael Lorenzen could make a lot of sense. Maybe even a buy low candidate like Noah Syndergaard, who they've shown interest in the past. I think another outfitter would be good. Adam Duvall, I think, is a really nice fit for them if they were to add someone. So I think the Padres have an okay team. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. I have them third in the NL West right now, though, because they just have so many good players like Tatis, like Machado, so Musgrove as well. So I think the sheer talent brings them up, but I think overall depth's going to be a question, especially when you get to the latter half of that rotation with how many kind of unproven guys and younger guys are going to be relying on for heavy innings. So, Dodgers. I don't know what there is to say about the Dodgers. They're really, really good. We know this. They're going to be really, really good. They signed all these players for a reason, because they want to win a World Series, and I think they have a great chance to. Yamamoto, Ohtani, James Paxton, Tyler Glasnow, they're going to be so good. They have so many stars. Their lineup is just insane. Basically an all-star at every position. Will Smith, all-star. Freddie Freeman, all-star. Max Muncy, all-star. Gavin Lux, all-star. It's just incredible. James Outman, future star in the outfield. Teoscar Hernandez, great player. Jason Hayward had a career, revitalized last year. So I think their team's going to be so, so good. I don't think I'm really saying anything new here. Not like, I'm saying some hot take. They're going to be very, very good. I don't know if they need to really make any other additions. It's just everyone needs to stay healthy. Everyone needs to play up to form. And when they get to the playoffs, they have to perform. They haven't performed the last few years in the playoffs. So I think that's going to be important to make sure you do, and make sure you're not just saving everything for the regular season, that you have some left when you get to the postseason, and that your pitching performs as well. So Gavin Stone, actually, we're talking about him. He got Tatis, Bogarts, and Cronenworth out 1, 2, 3 innings, so that's a nice start for him. So that was the first topic about just baseball coming back, what to look for in today's game, and the teams as well. We will be updating you on the game as the live stream and the podcast goes on, so look out for that. But that was the NFC segment one where we specifically focus on the big baseball game today and what's going on with it. We're going to go to a break. Before that, we're going to show you segment 2, which is going to be Kodai Senga, him getting injured. He's going to be out probably a few months. We don't really know the exact timeline, but that's what people think. What the impact is for the Mets, and how much it does affect them, and how big of a deal it is. So we'll be talking about that after we come back from break. So, see you after that. Thanks.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. Before we go to segment 2, I would like to ask you again to please like and follow the show. Use the donation link. It really does help us. It really does mean a lot. StreamElements.com/GSMC Sports Network /tip. Again, it helps a lot. We really would appreciate it. So thank you so much in advance for that. All right, going back now to our segments. And in our second segment here, we're going to be talking about Kodai Senga, the Mets ace, and what's going on with him. I think you probably know by now if you're a baseball fan what's going on with him. And if you can't, you can read on the screen what's going on here. But, he is injured. I talked about it yesterday in my other news segment, my segment 4. I talked about how he had some arm fatigue, how he didn't work out with the team, and he was getting an MRI, but that they didn't think was anything serious. Obviously, they were wrong because we're here now. So Kodai Senga has, he reported arm fatigue yesterday. He got an MRI, and he now has a moderate strain in the back of his shoulder, which is not good, especially if you're a pitcher. A strain in the shoulder is not good, experiencing arm fatigue. So what we know is not much. We don't know how long his how long his IL stint is going to be. David Stearns said he doesn't know as well. He's going to be on the IL until all his symptoms go away. So we don't know when that could be. And once that happens, they'll ramp him up again, and he'll come back to the team. It could be 1 month. It could be 2 weeks. It could be 3 months. We really have no idea. I think this is just a huge blow for the Mets in general, though. Personally, I thought the Mets were going to make the playoffs. I don't know if I still don't think they will, but that's a different conversation. I thought Senga was a really good ace. I was really looking forward to his second season. He showed such great flashes in the first. Showed he had the best pitch in baseball according to basically every metric. His ghost fork. So, this is just a huge disappointment. As a Mets fan, I had to mention it at some point. I'm a Mets fan. I'm not surprised about this because things just don't seem to go our way ever. So, it's very disappointing. it's a huge blow to the Mets. You look at that pitching staff right now. You have Jose Quintana, who is probably going to slide in as the ace, quote unquote. You have Luis Severino, Sean Manaea, Adrian Hauser. Those are the other guys. So when I was looking at the Mets rotation, going into the year, I thought, okay, this is a rotation that's either going to be top 5 or bottom 5. I thought the ceiling was very, very high, and I thought the floor was very, very low. I thought you had a lot of risks for every pitcher, which we're seeing now have come to fruition, but I thought they all had a lot of potential. I thought Senga has a lot of injury risk. We are seeing that now that he does. I thought Severino had a lot of injury risk, but I thought if he can go back to his form, it can be such a big deal for the Mets and how that rotation is going to perform. Manaea, I loved what he did last year with the Giants in the second half when he added a new pitch to his repertoire. Had such good stats, had such improved stats. So I really loved that signing. I thought Adrian Hauser was a good, stable 5, man. Just a guy you can rely on for innings, but has a 4 ERA. Just that's all you really need from a 5 starter. And Jose Quintana, who was really good last year when he was healthy, but he wasn't healthy for a long time. You now look at that. You now look at guys. All these guys have to step up. And again, we don't know how long Senga's going to be out, but they have to step up. Looking at looking at internal candidates to fill Senga's spot in the rotation, you have Tyler McGill, Joey Lucchesi, you have Jose Butto. For Lucchesi, he's okay. He hasn't really shown much. I think he's been up a few times and had some good stretches, but I don't know if he's going to be up for a significant amount of time. And if he is, I don't know if he's going to string together a good amount of starts where he can be a major league pitcher. Tyler McGill is very interesting. He's shown so many ups and downs over these past few years with the Mets. He is working on a new pitch that was actually inspired by Senga, a splitter apparently. So we'll see how that works. If that plays into his season and see if it improves him and makes him good. And I'm looking forward to him getting a chance. Actually, I assume he will be the one that gets a chance. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got and seeing how he performs in this new scenario. He's filled in a lot over these past few years with pitching injuries, so looking forward to seeing what he does. Jose Butto, I'm actually pretty high on Jose Butto. I think he could be a good starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. I've seen him the past few years. His changeup's really good. His fastball's not bad. If he can develop one or two more really good pitches, I think he can be a pretty good pitcher in this league. So I would love to see him get a chance. I'm just not sure about that right now. But other than that, I mean, it's just. I've said it before. It's just a huge blow to the Mets. The Mets fans were looking forward to new season of getting all the bad vibes out of last year, all the older players, all the guys who kept getting hurt. We're looking forward to seeing what Senga could do, and this is just a huge blow. I mean, you had Senga. Senga was your ace. You have a lot of good pitchers after that, but a lot of good pitchers with question marks. And I think losing Senga just takes your rotation to a new low and takes you to not having a lot of consistency there. Senga could be back in a few weeks, I could just be overreacting. But it's really disappointing because I really thought the Mets were going to be able to do something good this year. And I don't think this is the total end of that, but it's not a good way to start off. It's just every year we have shenanigans like this, problems like this in the start of the year with injuries. Last year was Verlander and Quintana. I mean, we had DeGrom the year before, of course. So it's not fun. And it's just a huge blow to the Mets, losing your ace before the season starts for however long it is. So, yeah, it's just not good. And, yeah, it's a huge blow to the Mets. I mean, I can't say enough about that. I mean, you're looking at a shoulder injury for a pitcher. Just never a good sign for a shoulder injury. Obviously we know if he had an injury past, he had an injury history. Excuse me. In Japan, we know about this. It was one of the reasons that his signing took so long to happen with the Mets. There were some problems with his physical, and it took his money down a little bit. So it's not like this is a blind side, or we got completely blindsided by this, like, oh, Senga's never had injuries in his entire career, and it just happens now. We knew that this could happen, but it did happen, and that's the thing that, it did, and it happened now, and it just sucks. It really does. Sorry, excuse me again. Yeah, it's really disappointing because I was really looking forward to watching Senga pitch. His ghost fork, again, I mentioned it before, but was probably the best pitch in baseball last year. I think you look at this Mets team, and they're very mediocre. That's really all you can say about them. I think they have a high ceiling, but I'm not sure what their floor is. I think it could be really low. I think, again, their rotation is so hit or miss, and right now you're seeing some of the miss, and why it could be that. But, if Severino can be back to what he was with the Yankees, maybe we got something cooking here. Maybe if Mania can prove that his second half wasn't necessarily a fluke, or he can continue to build upon it, it could, make him a frontline starter for this team. Adrian Hauser, again, just a quality back-end guy. Jose Quintana, a good pitcher, but that's kind of it about it. So, yeah, I mean, the Mets team right now, this Mets team is definitely third in the NL East. I mean, with this injury, you could maybe even argue fourth. I don't think they're fourth, but you could argue it. Marlins obviously did add someone today, which we will definitely be talking about later in the show, so stay tuned for that. But, yeah, this does not help our odds at all. It's really just, it's really so sad what's been going on with the Mets and just what's happening with them. So, yeah, I mean, just, again, we expected injuries to happen. I expected Senga to get injured at some point in his MLB career. But when it does happen, it's not fun. And it's a big blow to the Mets. It really is. I think they're third in the NL East right now. I had them as the sixth seed in the NL for the wild card behind the Diamondbacks and the Phillies. I think there are a lot of teams that are kind of on the same level as the Mets that can maybe jump up if Senga's injury is serious. Teams like the Padres, teams like the Giants, teams that I think are good, but I thought the Mets were a little bit better. But now, if Senga's actually hurt, those teams can definitely move up in the standings and take what I thought was the Mets 6 seed that was, to lose. I think, sorry about this. I'm gonna take another drink of my water, but then we'll talk about it. These teams, they can definitely jump up from the Mets, definitely take charge and kind of take the momentum away from the Mets that they had going into the season with a new manager, a new perspective, a new team that was looking excited to be Mets, excited to try to sway the narrative away from the Mets of the old, the Mets that we saw last year, and I was looking forward to it as well. But I think this is just a step in the wrong direction. And it's not fun, but I think you now have to look at the guys I mentioned before that can step up and replace him in-house. Joey Lucchesi, Tyler McGill, Jose Butto, guys like that. They have to make a jump. They have to show why they want to stay in the major leagues if Senga is out for an extended amount of time. And I think this is a big trial for them to see if they're part of the future of not only the Mets but of Major League Baseball, and see if them being a consistent starter in major leagues is going to be for them in the future. So, sorry. I think another part of this just to look at is, are the Mets going to look for external help? There were some rumors that they could dip their toes back into the free agent market with the Senga injury, go after a guy they've been rumored in the past with, like Jordan Montgomery, maybe even sign a lesser guy like Michael Lorenzen to just fill in innings. Andy Martino of SNY reported that they are not going to do that this does not change that. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it is the likely decision and the likely scenario that is going to happen. I think the Mets would like to add another starting pitcher. It's just they don't have the money. You may say, okay, it's Steve Cohen. He's worth billions and billions of dollars, one of the richest men in the world. Why can't he add another starting pitcher? It's just with the luxury tax, it's double what it would be. So if we signed Montgomery to a $30 million contract, AAV or something like that, I don't think he'll get that high, but, just an example, it'll be $60 million. It'll be something like that. So it's just when looking at where the salary cap is, looking at the Cohen tax that was made for him to make sure he does not kind of exploit the rules and go higher and higher and higher, it doesn't make a lot of logistical sense for us to get another starting pitcher because of where we are in the money and paying a lot of players not only on our roster but on other rosters as well. Guys like Verlander, of course, Scherzer, even James McCann, who people might have forgotten about, playing for the Orioles basically for free right now. Just bad contracts we did give out that we traded that, we're going to have to pay for the contracts in the future and right now. So, sorry if you can hear my coughing. I tried to do it away from the mic, but I'm sorry if you can hear it. So that was it for segment 2, and what's going on with the Mets and how big of an injury Kodai Senga is. It breaks my heart as a Mets fan, but you expect these things. These things are always going to happen to you as a Mets fan. Growing up in Queens and being a Mets fan my entire life, you expect these things to happen, and it's going to happen. So, that was our segment 2. We're going to go to a little break here. Before that, we're going to show segment 3, which is Mitch Keller. He got a big extension from the Pirates, kind of out of nowhere. We'll talk about it, and I'll give my thoughts on it. So, see you after the break, and see you then. So, thanks.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our third segment for today. And our third segment is going to be Mitch Keller and the extension he got from the Pittsburgh Pirates. So, Mitch Keller kind of broke out last year. Not kind of the past 2 years, really, actually. He kind of showed he was going to be big part of the Pirates' future, and the Pirates are rewarding him with a big contract extension. So we're going to talk about it. But first, I do have to mention yesterday that I had 2 entire segments planned out to extension candidates. And for the Pirates, I mentioned O'Neal Cruz instead of Mitch Keller. So I'm 0 for 1. Not a great start. But, it's a crapshoot. So what are you going to do about it? I wish I would have put Keller, but it would have been nice to confirm I know what I'm talking about, but I hope I still know what I'm talking about. So, so looking at Mitch Keller last year, he had a 4.08 ERA, a 3.84 FIP, and a 105 ERA plus. That is from the past 2 years combined, not last year, so that's my fault. Those aren't pop out of the screen numbers. Those aren't numbers that scream ace or Cy Young winner, but they show progress. They show something to build upon for Mitch Keller. And, that I think that's why they gave him the extension, because they see something. They know he can be better than he was and will be a lot better in the future. When you're looking a little bit deeper, you see his K per 9. It went way up. His walk per 9. It went way down. So I think that's good, a positive showing of what he can do, of what he can do in the future, and what's going to happen with that. So I think that's a main reason why the Pirates gave him that extension, because they know he's going to be a big part of that future. They want to get him locked down. They want to get him locked up, make him a big part of the pitching staff, see him only get better and better. Pirates want to compete in the next few years, which I think they can. So I think that this is a good step. I think any small market team extending their young stars is a good idea. We could see this more in the future with them. Maybe a guy like Henry Davis O'Neal Cruz, who I mentioned yesterday, Andy Rodriguez when he comes back from injury. I mean, even Paul Skeens, you could extend him right now if you wanted to. So yeah, I mean, you could definitely look for more extensions in Pittsburgh if you want to look at that. But I like the Keller extension, and I like the fact that the Pirates weren't afraid to do it, and I like that they got it done, got him locked up, and made him a big part of their future. So next, we're just going to show what the contract is and talk about it a little bit. So I talked about the extension, but what are the actual numbers of it? So the numbers of the extension are 5 years, $77 million. It covers 2 arbitration years at $15 million, which is the AAV, and then 3 years of free agency as well. So Keller is getting a major bump up in arbitration for the next 2 years, because I don't think he would be getting $15 million. But he also gets maybe a little less than he would have gotten free agency with the $15 million, because assuming he progressed in the right way throughout these years, probably would have gone maybe 20 to 25 million. But again, that's projecting in the future, a few years ahead, and for hypothetical, that's not going to happen anymore. So it's not really worth talking about. So, you see young players like this, what they get is the money up front now. They get it, they don't have to worry about what's going to happen in the future if they get injured or regress, something like that. So, they get their money taken care of. They get to just focus on baseball, and the Pirates now get to focus on just baseball with Keller. They don't have to worry about locking him up maybe thinking about trading him next offseason if he doesn't want to sign an extension, because they got it done now. I think it's nice for the Pirates organization that one of their young players is showing loyalty by taking maybe less money than he would have gotten on the free agent market to get an extension now, be a part of that core and how they progress in the future, and what that pitching staff is going to look like in the next few years. So I think that's good to see if you're a Pirates fan, and something nice to watch. So yeah, just interrupting this a tiny bit. Yuki Matsui is in the game for the Padres for the first time in his MLB career, so that's something nice to watch and look at. He got his 2 first batters out, including Gavin Lux. So good sign for the Padres, and that's something interesting to watch as well. Matsui with the Padres and how he's going to perform. So yeah. So looking at the Pirates and just how their future looks, I think it's a very bright future. As I mentioned, I really like their core. You have a guy like Mitch Keller in the rotation, who I think is going to be I think he is a star. He's going to be a future star. He's just going to keep getting better. And I'm glad the Pirates locked him up. I think more young teams, more middle-of-the-market franchises should do this. We're seeing it as a trend. I mean, I made a whole segment on it yesterday, so we're obviously seeing it as a trend. And I think it made a lot of sense for both the player and the team to do it. And I'm glad that it got done. I'm glad that he's showing loyalty. I'm glad that the Pirates are making this an organization now where players want to play. I think even though it is a smaller market, I think there are a lot of benefits for the Pirates. I mean, they have a beautiful ballpark. I've been to 23 ballparks myself, and I absolutely love the Pirates. It's definitely in my top 3, up there with the ones I love, like San Diego, like Atlanta. So it's a beautiful ballpark, and I think players know that. And you see a lot of free agency guys who come in for free agency. That's one of the big things they mentioned about how beautiful the ballpark is. So you have that going for you. You play in a relatively easy division right now with with the teams, the Cubs, the Brewers, Reds. It's going to be better in the future, but as of right now, and maybe the next 2 years or so, it's a little bit easy. So I think you have that going for you. And just looking at this Pirates team right now, I think I don't have them winning the division. I don't have them making the playoffs. I don't have them finishing in the top 2 of the division or even the top 3. But they're still a good team. And I think they're a good, hungry team that maybe won't be that great right now, but definitely is going to be very good in the future. You look at what they've added. They added first Martin Perez and Marco Gonzalez. They're fine players, nothing to write home about, but they're good veteran guys who fill in innings for a young Pirates team that desperately just needs innings. So I think it was a good trade and good signings for them. Again, no one that really is a superstar or get you straight into a contender status. But they're nice bridge arms for this bridge season to next year when you're probably going to try to be more competitive. So I like those moves for the Pirates. Just, again, nice veteran innings eater, something young teams always need. And I like the process of doing it. Their young core, their hitting is very, very good. You have two really good young hitting catchers. You have Henry Davis, who was the first overall pick, of course. He was a great player. In college, obviously, he was the first overall pick. He's going to be a great player. His hitting tool is very, very good. The only question mark you have about him is how is he going to stay? How is he going to be staying a catcher for the long term? Which is a question you have about every young catcher. So I don't think it's special to Henry. So I think he's someone to watch for the Pirates' future and what's going to happen with him. So definitely someone to market the Pirates' future around and get someone to build around as well. You signed Rowdy Tellez in the offseason. I think it was a good move. Getting a younger first baseman in there, maybe he can break out in Pittsburgh. And if not, just a nice signing. I think he hits righties really well. I think he's a good first baseman. He's fine. I think it's a good move for this team. Again, you signed Aroldis Chapman, which is a nice move for the back of the bullpen. Adding him in with guys like David Bednar, Colin Holderman, they have a nice bullpen. Now, if the pitching the starting pitching can perform well, it'll be more of a story. But I think it was still a good move, and still I'm so glad that the Pirates are trying to win and trying to compete. You have guys like Nick Gonzalez, like Lievra Peguero, who definitely slot in for the future of the team and the organization and are guys to build around. I think they're definitely players to watch if you're a Pirates fan, if you're a baseball fan. You want to see the Pirates' future. So, yeah, good players to build around, have a nice core with. So, yeah, definitely with that. Definitely good for Pirates fans if you are one. And just good for baseball. We always want to see young teams put it all together. Young teams, trying to compete, trying to win, being hungry. And I think the Pirates are. Again, I think this division is very, very winnable. There's no real standout. I currently have the Reds winning, but if someone else has the Cubs or even the Brewers winning, I'm not going to be like, that's a ludicrous take and you should be disgusted with yourself. You don't know baseball. I'm not going to say that because I wouldn't say that anyways. But, there's no real bad take of who you think can win this division. You had the Cubs who need to make another big move to maybe break themselves away from the pack, maybe signing a guy like Matt Chapman, Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell, even bringing back Cody Bellinger, even though that wouldn't make the most sense in my opinion. You can do that. You have the Brewers, who just brought back Brandon Woodruff. Not going to be a factor for this season, but for the future it will be. You signed Rhys Hoskins, which is a nice signing to bolster that lineup, which has desperately needed help for years. But still, they don't have an ace. Right now their ace is Freddie Peralta with the trade of Burns and Woodruff's injury. You have the Reds, who are a good team, I think, but they still have some pitching worries. You have Graham Ashcraft, you have Nick Lodolo, you have Hunter Green, Frankie Montas you brought in, Nick Martinez, all good players. But there are some question marks with a few of them, and a good amount of them, like injury with Montas, how Nick Martinez is going to be being a starter again. Can Graham Ashcraft and Hunter Green put it all together to be really good pitchers? I think they can be, but that's why I have them winning the division. But again, there's no runaway favorite for the Central right now. And if the Pirates defy expectations or put it all together, I could see them winning that division. I think Mitch Keller signing an extension definitely helps with that. Helps get consistency with this team. You know who's going to be there for the future. You know who to build around. You know who to watch. And I'm very happy, again, that young teams and mid-markets are finally extending their young guys so they don't walk. It's better for the game, and it's better for the teams and the fan bases as well. So I'm happy. I'm happy for it. Just to recap a little bit, we talked about just all about Mitch Keller's extension, how I went 0-for-1 already in yesterday's segment, so that was not great, but still happy news is happening. We have a lot of news this episode, so I'm very excited about that. Yeah, the contract covers 2 arbitration years, of course, 3 free agency years. I think it was a good contract for both him and the team. And the Pirates, they could win the Central if everything goes correct, but I don't have them winning it right now. But the Central's a pretty easy division, so I don't think there's a runaway, like I've said. And I think if everything goes right for them, we could see the Buccos hosting a home playoff game, which I think would be electric, considering what we saw the last time they hosted a home playoff game with Johnny Cueto and what happened with that. So, yeah, that's my third segment, talking about Mitch Keller extension and the Pirates as well. We're going to go to another break here, but then we'll go to our fourth and final segment, which is about news around the league. There are some signings around the league, which I'm going to talk about. Obviously, I hinted one before with the Marlins. We know what I'm talking about, and if you don't, you'll hear in the final segment. So, yeah, we'll talk about that in the final segment, and we'll go to a break, but then we'll talk about it. So, thanks. All right, we're back here for our fourth and final segment on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And that's just going to be talking about what I usually talk about for our fourth segment, news around the league. These are signings or news I thought was important, but maybe it's just I couldn't really talk about for an entire segment, and I thought was more fitted to put into one. So, again, these are very important things that I think are important to the league, but all kind of put into one segment, so we're going to talk about it. So, first thing we're going to be talking about is news that broke early this morning. I made a short about it, so if you want to check that out on the channel, please go ahead. Always helps us. And that is Tim Anderson. The long-held rumors about him going to the Marlins are finally true, as he has signed a 1-year, $5 million contract with the Marlins to be their starting shortstop every day. So, obviously, like I said, we knew about this for a long time. We kind of knew over the past week that it was looking like Tim Anderson and the Marlins were going to be a fit. It was kind of just all the rumors that were going on with them. It makes sense on paper as well. We're going to dive deep into that. But we kind of knew Tim Anderson and the Marlins, sorry about that, made a lot of sense and was something that was kind of bound to happen when you just listen to everyone talking about it, especially Ken Rosenthal. They also talked about Gio Urshela to the Marlins, but obviously that didn't happen. We're going to talk about that next, actually, after Anderson, so stay tuned for that. But, yeah, just going off the fit for Tim Anderson here, I love it. I said it before a few times in shorts and videos and segments, but I love the fit for Tim Anderson with Miami. I think the Marlins needed a shortstop. I don't think that. They needed a shortstop. They definitely did. And they are, not under a lot of pressure for this year. They're kind of just there. They kind of just exist. And I think Anderson going to a team like this with his low pressure, he gets his starting role back with the team. Gets to maybe get his value back up. I think it makes a lot of sense. And it makes a lot of sense, like I said, for Tim Anderson, but also for the Marlins as well. If he's bad, just move on. It's 1 year, $5 million. You can cut him at the deadline, DFA him, do whatever. And no harm, no foul. But if he's good, which you're obviously hoping he's good, you get maybe a long-term piece at shortstop, You get a guy that you can put there for a long time, kind of build around in a way, give a big contract to. So I think it makes sense, just the signing about that. So again, I love the fit, and if he is good, again, you can not only build around him, but if you want to say, okay, we don't want to give him a big contract again, we can just trade him. You probably can get a lot at the deadline for him, a big bat like that. Guy's proven he can play shortstop. So I think it makes a lot of sense to the Marlins in that regard. And yeah, I just think it's a great fit for the player, for the team, just everyone here. There is one downside I kind of think, which is just defense. Obviously, we know of Tim Anderson as not being the best defender. And he's now going to a team where there are also not good defenders in the infield. You have Luis Arias, who's just not that good at defense, but he can hit the ball, so it doesn't really matter. Same with Jake Berger, not a great defender. Him and Anderson obviously played together in Chicago for a few years, but that's besides the point. So I think it's just something kind of minor. Again, we don't expect the Marlins to compete, and so I'm not really going to worry about their infield defense and what's going to go on with that, but it's something I think notable. Yeah, I think, I'm confident Tim Anderson can rebound from his year in Chicago last year. He had a lot of off-the-field stuff going on. The White Sox aren't really a winning environment. I think he's going to have a chip on his shoulder, prove to everyone that he can be the Tim Anderson of old, the guy who bat flips all the time, who won a batting title, who is one of the better shortstops in baseball. I'm very confident in him that he can do it, and I'm rooting for him. I think it's a good fit with the Marlins, and I'm happy the market's moving. Maybe him signing can be a wake up call to other teams that, hey, let's get this going. It's about to start. The game's on right now, first game of the season. So let's get the season going, and let's get the market moving. So yeah. Next, we're going to talk about another guy who was rumored to the Marlins, did not sign there, of course, and that is Gio Urshela. Gio Urshela signed a 1-year, $1.5 million deal with Detroit. I love this move for the Tigers. Absolutely love it. They kind of came out of nowhere. We heard about Gio in his market for a little while now. We heard it was the Mets and the Yankees, really. Then we heard the Marlins were interested. Then we heard, the Red Sox as well. But then the Tigers come out of nowhere and sign him to a really cheap contract. I understand he was hurt all of last year, but I expect him to get maybe like $5 million, something like that, instead of $1.5. To me, that's a steal by the Tigers and a great deal. I think the Tigers can be really good, personally. I think they have a really good team. I'm not sure where they're going to fit in the the AL Central, but it's probably going to be high. I think them, the Royals, and the Twins, be the top teams. So I think this Urshela signing helps it. I don't think their lineup. I think their lineup was pretty good, and I think if there was a question mark, it was mainly at third base. Catcher, you have Jake Rogers. First base, Spencer Torkelson. Second base, third base, Gio Urshela. I can't remember who the second baseman is right now. That's my fault. I don't know why I can't remember that. But, shortstop, of course, you have Javi Baez. Outfield, Parker Meadows, Riley Green, Mark Canha, who might play outfield DH. Obviously, he was acquired in the offseason. So, I think they have a really good team. I think this only adds to it. Colt Keith is their second baseman. I don't know why I blanked on that. He's one of the top prospects in baseball. Got a huge extension. Going to be a big part of that Tigers team. It only makes that lineup better. I don't know why I blanked on that. Sorry. I think adding Urshela to third base really solidifies that position for them and gives them a really nice team and well-rounded lineup. Before they had Andy Ibanez and Zach McKinstry there. Fine players, I guess, but no one that you really want to start. And I think signing Urshela, especially for as cheap of a contract as it is a great move. And it's buy low as well. I really, really like it, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So I think it's a great move for the Tigers. I'm glad they're trying to win, and I think again it's a great fit for the team, great fit for the player. Going to Detroit where they need a third baseman, they're a younger team. He can maybe be a veteran. There's a lot of teams interested in him, a lot of smart organizations. So I think that bodes well for him. Just a minor league signing a little bit. Joely Rodriguez, former Met, had to mention it. He was good with us. So kind of a nice personality as well. Sat on the rocks in the outfield in Coors Field and drank a Red Bull and got kicked out for it. So was kind of a cool guy with the Mets. So I always root for him. Signed back with the Red Sox after having a fine year there last year. Just good bullpen depth for the Red Sox in the minor leagues. Red Sox bullpen is probably one of their stronger entities as a team. They have Kenley, of course, who is hurt, but still a good player. Still a good closer. Still knows what he's doing in the back of that bullpen. And I think Joely Rodriguez is just good depth for them and a good addition as well. So yeah, I thought it was good depth, a good move to bring him back. Can't have enough bullpen arms, especially lefty ones, especially on minor league contracts that are cheap. So I thought it was a good move by the Red Sox to bring him back, solidify that depth a little bit, and keep moving for the offseason. Of course, I'm sure if I talk about a Red Sox signing, Red Sox fan rather than sign a guy like Jordan Montgomery, but I don't think that's going to happen. So Joely Rodriguez is the best you can get right now, so got to deal with it. Something fun here I wanted to mention before we wrap up the show, which is going to happen in a few minutes. Albert Pujols, it came out that he is going to be the manager of the winter ball team in Lidom, which is the Dominican winter ball league, which is where a lot of Dominican players and Latino, Hispanic players go as well to play in the winter, play in the off season to kind of get reps and to also to make sure they don't get rusty, and also some players who are kind of trying to fight their way back from a major league contract play there. I know Robinson Cano's played there a few times trying to look for a contract. Hasn't really worked, but I think it's an example of that. So I think it's really cool that he is going to be a manager. I mentioned it before when I talked about Corey Kluber going back to the Yankees on one of these segments, that players going back to work for teams, major league or international, is always super fun. They know what they're doing. I always want a former major league player in and around the team. And Albert Pujols is a great baseball mind, obviously a future Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players of all time, one of the greatest hitters in his prime of all time. And I think it's just really cool that he's going to be a manager now, that he's going to be managing this Lidom team. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, by the way, but and that I think a lot of players are going to want to go to this team and play for them now to get the advice of a former great player like Albert Pujols was, and just have experience from him. Say you played under Albert Pujols, and Albert Pujols is your manager. If I was playing, if I was one of these players, to me, I'd want to do that. That's super cool. I mean, who wouldn't want to play under Albert Pujols? So I think it's a great move by the team and Winter Ball League to bring him in and have him as a manager, and have him manage the team and be a mentor to young players trying to fight for their spot in and have baseball as a career. So just to recap a little bit, we talked about Tim Anderson to the Marlins. I liked the signing a lot. I thought it was a good fit for team and player, and it was something that had been rumored for a little bit, and I'm glad it finally came to fruition and finally happened, and the market's finally moving. Gio Urshela to the Tigers, I thought was a pretty great move by the Tigers to buy low on a third baseman. And I think he's going to be really good, and he solidifies that third base position that was kind of iffy for the Tigers before. And I just thought it was a great move. Joely Rodriguez, fine depth with the Red Sox. Always need more bullpen depth, always need more lefty relievers, so good move. And Albert Pujols going to manage a winter ball team. I like it, and I think it was a good move by Jamaican winter ball to have him there and have him manage. One more news that I saw before we leave is that Colton Wong, who played with the Mariners and Dodgers last year, is his market's starting to heat up after the Tim Anderson and Gio Urshela signings. So I think that's something to watch. Colton Wong obviously did not have a good season with the Mariners, but went to the Dodgers, like the Dodgers always do, they kind of fix him. So maybe a team buys low on either a split contract or a minor league contract, try to get him to make the team out of spring training and either win a bench spot or a platoon second base role. So I think that could be something interesting to watch. Maybe a team that lost out on Tim Anderson or Gio Urshela. So, that's our show for you today. Those are the 4 segments. Thank you so much for watching. To all the listeners, thank you so much for listening. It is really appreciated with how much you guys have been supporting the show with my first week here. Tomorrow I'm going to be going on the GSMC football podcast. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be at 10:30 to 11 for me. I'm going to be doing 2 segments. So if you want to watch that, please go ahead. You can follow us on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all that. Keep up with updates. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support. It really is appreciated. And goodbye. Have a good day.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't